Hello Play the Games, it's Boobity2 here and welcome back to Play the Game Central, and today with the upcoming release of Thief, the fourth installment of my personal favourite game series, I'll be going over the essential backstory of the Thief franchise. First developed by Looking Glass Studios in 1998, it used their own Dark engine based off of the standard of the time Quake engine, with some cool new features of the Unreal Engine thrown into the mix. The engine was used in the first two games until going out of business and employees moved to Ion Storm where they developed Game 3 using the Unreal Engine, and being developed for both PC and original Xbox at the same time, which changed the game's style in a very different way to the first two games. After that, they were closed down and they merged into Eidos Interactive, and then they merged into Square Enix, who are the publishers of the Deus Ex series. And most recently, in terms of the game itself, there is a new Thief reboot coming in late February, and it's being developed by Eidos Montreal, which is a subsidiary of Square Enix, developers of Deus Ex, the most recent Tomb Raider, and now Thief. Now we're going to move into talking about the games themselves, and to anyone interested and asking me personally about Thief, I would compare it to a PlayStation 1 style Tomb Raider game in first person with a focus on stealth adventure instead of action adventure. Game 1. Thief: The Dark Project, also known as Thief Gold, which is a version which was released later on, which features more bug fixes and a few new levels and such like. Released by Looking Glass Studios in 1998, you play as Garrett, a master thief in a city resembling a mix of medieval, Victorian, and steampunk themes. Garrett is taken in by a group known as the Keepers, who are sworn to maintain balance in the city. He was taken in at a very young age for his natural talent and was trained in the ways of stealth, far superior to even the most skilled thieves in the world. However, Garrett has an insatiable kleptomanic urge and subsequently left the Keepers and used his skills for his own ends. Every game in the series starts off with a simple run-of-the-mill break-ins at mansions and procuring some special items. However, soon the story swoops in and involves Garrett into a greater scheme, meeting two different factions, known as the Hammerites, who are zealots who believe in a master builder who created the world, and the Pagans, who are Gollum-like in mentalities and speech patterns with a love of nature. I won't go terribly much into the story right now, but if you do want to know more about it, and it is a very good storyline, it is very unique and very special to me, and if you do want to know about that, look it up, or buy or procure the game somehow and play through it yourself, because it is an incredible storyline. In its time, Thief was an incredible breakthrough with a brilliant and unique atmosphere and gameplay style. Many call into question the stealth mechanics of modern games, however the Thief series does it best. Even the most skilled stealthy players will find some situations difficult in the games. However, those skilled with Thief and its mechanics will only find consistency. And of course in the older titles, AI isn't what it is like today and makes enemies easy to predict. However, that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because if you can learn how enemies operate and the game mechanics, why shouldn't you have an advantage? As for gameplay, stealth and shadows are the only way to go. A 1v1 sword fight will never end well for you, especially with no health regeneration, with the exception of healing potions, which are precious and very few. There are two key factors which are light and sound. An indicator for light is shown at the bottom of the screen and is essential to recognise how much light on your person can be seen at what distances. As for sound, a metal or tile floor will resound for miles, whereas a carpet and wood will muffle sound as to not cause audible alarm. The main arsenal which you have consists primarily of arrows, be it broadheads for combat, water for extinguishing fires, which is very important, rope arrows for climbing, and moss for silent walking on loud surfaces such as metal and tile, as I mentioned before. However, you do have the old faithful blackjack for silent takedowns and a sword should you need it, as well as other gadgets such as flash bombs and water-breathing potions. Next we have Thief 2: The Metal Age from the year 2000, using the same engine, albeit with some programming improvements. In the original game, some did not understand the title of Thief and engaged enemies like idiots, so in the Metal Age, map design was improved for a necessity for stealth. In Thief 2, the story follows the cult of the Mechanists, who are an offshoot of the Hammerites, who develop steampunk machines and technology. Throughout the game you will encounter patrol machines that can fire bombs and are heavily armoured, except for an exhaust on the back where two water arrows would put them to sleep. They're very dangerous enemies that require silent cunning instead of stupid meat sack guards that can be put down in one hit with the blackjack, though you will still see those meat sacks most of the time. Thief 2 was the game that I started with and is my personal favourite of the entire series. Now I'm just going to quickly ask if you could leave a like rating on this video if be so kind as to do so, because this is a game series which I am very excited about and is my personal favourite of all time, so hopefully I'm getting this across and tempting a few of you into the actual series itself, and hopefully we'll be playing the older games as well as the new ones. So anyway, hopefully leave a like on the video now. The first two games of the Thief series were virtually similar but with obvious technical improvements, new level designs, story advancement and so on, but the big changes are still to come. After the Metal Age, the developers shut down and went to the studio known as Ion Storm and created Thief: The Deadly Shadows, which is Game 3, in 2004. Using a new up-to-date Unreal-based engine as seen in Deus Ex Invisible War, which is quite a fitting name. In Deadly Shadows, the main new feature is the ability to roam the cityscape instead of going from mission to mission with cutscenes in between, as seen in the previous games. There are houses to break into, and also fences to sell and buy from, as among other places of interests. Adding more onto that, eventually in the game you will be able to gain and lose reputations with the Hammers and the Pagans, making it so you can visit their areas without hostility, and of course, make it easier to steal their stuff. You can also switch perspective to third person and go flat against walls, which is very useful for getting past people who are patrolling and looking around corners in terms of the third person mode. More small touches were also introduced, such as how shadows react to moving light sources, AI improvements and the ability for them to notice open doors and when items went missing. In terms of the story, the first game focused more on the Pagans, the second game on the Mechanist, and this time it centered more around the Keepers, Ancient Evils, Destiny, and other things and areas such as that. Personally, I think that the engine mechanics and overall feel of the game really changed and felt sluggish and burdening to the previous releases, although that is understandable since new people were working on the project with different ideas, as well as the change of engine to an Unreal-based engine instead of a Quake one. It was different, but still keeping with the same aesthetic, atmosphere, mechanics and story that makes the series so unique and popular. On top of all this, a quick side note is that the original 3 games had a level editor which allowed fans to create their own personal missions, and hopefully we will see that on the next gen consoles, but given the status of custom mapping on other game releases recently, that is quite unlikely, but we can stay hopeful. The past all out of the way, we have a new Thief game intended to be a reboot. It likely isn't going to continue on from the previous story, however 2 factors show that it will be a continuation, being his eye and his protege, which if you played the first game and the third game, you would understand. The main game will focus on Garrett returning to the city, taking on the new enemies of the Baron's Watch, as well as a plague which also sweeps the city. There's a new style of map design which makes it so that there are different ways of approaching all situations, through lockpicking doors, dropping ladders or boxes, or being smart enough to just waltz right through the front gate. Originally there was meant to be an XP and level up system, however that did not stay true to the old games and the overall feel of the Thief game's uniquity, and players responded very negatively to that. After all, you are the best thief to ever walk the face of the earth. Unfortunately as well, the voice actor was switched from the original iconic and classic Stephen Russell for a new blood, Romano Orzari, for the simple reason of motion capture suits being used for Thief. However, for a fresh new take on the Thief universe, these minor changes set the game apart from its previous iterations. From what I've seen so far, the whole stealth element remains with a light gem at the bottom of the screen, arrow types, and a dark underlying story which will send spine tingles similar to the Amnesia games. One thing I'm not personally pleased about is the focus ability, which I've seen quite a few developers use in their games such as Hitman and The Last of Us, and it makes it so that you can see important pieces such as wiring behind a wall to a switch that opens a secret painting, or secret doors and stuff like that. This didn't exist in the previous games, and because of that it made the game feel more real and difficult. However, there will be likely a setting to restrict that, so that the hardened fans will instantly set their difficulties to that, and relive some good old-fashioned Thief-style burglary. Thief comes out for PC, the PlayStation and Xbox families on February 25th for North America, 27th in Australia and the 28th for Europe and the UK. Currently there is a pre-order bonus which is called Master Thief Edition with extra missions and other goodies with a few dollars more, and currently a 10% price cut on Steam. I am very much looking forward to this and hope Eidos do us proud with such a brilliant series in their hands. So thank you all for watching, hopefully you've liked this video, and if you did, please remember to leave a like rating on the video, and subscribe for a Thief playthrough and other such content soon after game release. Thank you once again, and goodbye, you taffers.